There was a lot of news this week. I don't know where to start. Rony, you had some thoughts about where to start, but if not, we can jump right into Siri and Apple's upcoming WWDC next week.
Look, I just think quick big news is there's like these three monstrous IPOs, and you could feel the ripples throughout the financial community. It is occupying the brain space of everyone. And then while that's happening, you got like Cerberus that popped a bubble. Quantium went public yesterday. A company with like de minimis revenue hits $15 billion market cap. So like everyone's just jumping into this bandwagon of like quantum, AI, whatever. And then of course XR is getting in the mix with our upcoming big meeting with Ori.
I talked to a close friend of mine who's a very savvy investor, and he said we are in what he calls the quiet quantum mode, where all the air is being taken up by AI, all the sort of investment talk and froth is being taken up by AI. And meanwhile, quantum just keeps rolling right along. And if you've made the right startup investments in quantum, no one's really talking about it outside the really tight circles. And that's a really good investment sign for people that really track stuff. Pretty interesting.
Ted, really quick for you and Charlie, could we just ask one question for you and our avid listeners, watchers? Is there any actual use case that anyone's ever shown for quantum other than hacking into encrypted systems?
Well,
because what I've heard from folks is the clear use case is destroying cybersecurity. Outside of that, there's all this vague talk about curing cancer and blah, blah, blah. But has anyone demonstrated that use case? But the other ones, like Claude Mythos, is like an approximation of Q-Day, which is where quantum computing really happens and all encryption blows up. And you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars of damage to all government and banks and security systems around the world. What is the use case other than that damage?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm asking that in a very cynical way, but like,
by the
I
way,
was at
Rony,
a quantum conference, and that was the question, and no one had a good answer, including some of the top folks in quantum computing. So,
an answer.
What's the answer?
I was going to say, can we back up a little bit, since you are one of the world's leading authorities, and just take a minute and explain what quantum is to those of us who only know about AI? And by the way, big announcement by Anthropic this week that they are on the cusp of recursive self-improving computing, which last time I checked was the definition of AGI.
Mm-hmm.
All right, which one do we want to tackle here?
Well, let's start with what is quantum. I mean, it's a buzzword, but what the fuck is it?
What is quantum computing? Very quick pop cultural definition for our listeners, readers, viewers. You go back to what is quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is talking about the probabilistic nature of particles existing in multiple universes simultaneously. This is one of the theories. It sounds batshit nuts, like a Marvel Comics thing. But when you get down to massively parallel universes solving massively parallel computational mathematics problems at zero time in concert together, in sync through quantum communication, which also happens at zero time. This is the promise of quantum computing. So if you're investing in it, you believe that all of these things can happen at like near or actually at zero time in massively parallel universes. The advantage of that is you can create an infinite computer across all the infinite universes that exist, and every probabilistic outcome and every possible outcome is just happening instantly. And if you can calculate that way, it's a very powerful thing. And somehow there's a belief that by getting things extremely cold or all these other variables, we're going to be able to access the power of that underlying weird part of physics, which is called quantum physics, which Einstein had a lot of struggle with because it was not a clear deterministic thing. It implied we live in a infinite possibility world, which is kind of exciting, but it also means that everything and anything exists at all times across all these infinite universes. So if you're making that bet and you're an investor, you're betting on something like the Marvel multiverse, but at a very tiny particle level. Ted, Charlie, if you want to add anything to that.
Well, to help sort of bring it down to like
humans,
the little outer atmosphere of Earth, all of that thesis leads to this concept of what we call state-based computing, meaning that when we move past binary, where it's either a 1 or a 0, so every single thing we all do on any compute device that we have today runs through a binary compute chip. It's a circuit, on, off, on, off, on, off. And
1, 0.
Many millions to trillions of circuits on these little chips that are all doing ones and zeros very, very quickly. When you apply the concept of can it be a one or a zero or leaning more toward a one or a zero? To your point about the parallelization of it's possible
Qubits.
to be in both places simultaneously, what they call superposition. Then you get a concept that now we're starting to see become real, that is actually taking what we used to do with binary and exponentially increase its power because it can be one or the other leaning. So once it starts leaning in a direction, it can start figuring out a problem, and it can start figuring that problem out without having to click a bunch of 1-0 gates over and over and over again.
And if we double click on that one more time, there are physicists who believe the human brain and all of our neurons are tiny little quantum computers with almost infinite power. That's actually very cool for a human being, that we have this power way beyond binary. That there's little tiny quantum computing capabilities in neurons that are like infinitely powerful.
It's apparently
if you're a
how we can
humanist, you
use-
want to believe that's true. And also the idea of infinite possibility, infinite creativity, tapping into the zen of all things. If you're not a humanist, we're just stupid pieces of wet machinery. That's not a very happy moment. So quantum is actually points to a weirdly more humanistic idea of our brain being so powerful. It's like the whole universe contained in it.
It's apparently how the sophistication of our language and worldwide language models and everything within the human language, which is now, of course, applied into the compute world of what we call language, is actually a quantum effect. Like, we process things outside of a listen, think, deliver. As you're talking, you guys are thinking, you're preparing your next answer. And as I'm talking, you're changing your next answer in real time based on the things that I would say. So it's actually a sort of a quantum effect.
Can we go a tiny step further? And Charlie, you opened this can of worms, so it's your fault. But
well, I said just explain it like I'm like a little kid, and now we're like back in graduate school. So listen, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about.
Let's go to the other
There
stuff.
must
Let's
be
go
a
to the other
there
stuff.
there, because that's
There is
a lot
a there
of money.
there. I'll just very quickly tell people without going into it. Google the Cleveland Clinic, and you will see a valid use case for what IBM and Cleveland Clinic is doing right now using quantum computing.
Okay, Apple Worldwide Developer Conference next week. Of course, it's John Turnus's Turnus at bat.
Yeah, baby. Good pun.
And I guess it's gonna be all about Siri this year. What are you guys feeling?
All I care about is, sure, like, of course we need to fix Siri. Like, we've needed to fix Siri for years. If he gets that right, now that he's got Google on board to help him, good on him. But I want to see that folding phone really bad. I want to see what they do with it. I want to see when it comes. And based on the sidebar debacle of the electric Ferrari and the Johnny Ives what the fuck moment, I so want to see in a post Johnny Ives world Apple do something really slick and really important. So we'll see.
Wait, can we just talk about that? I would like the new CEO to deal with the fact that my Mac has a big black stripe down the screen because the screen cracked. But I think the most exciting thing we might hear from Apple is the wearable side maybe gets hinted at. One of my friends is leading that project. They're claiming it's kind of awesome. I can't say anything else. It's not going to be the Vision Pro big thing. It's going to be something else. And Siri must be part of that.
Yeah.
Right? Without Siri, that thing doesn't really work well. So I think Siri and that are very coupled together, but also Siri and the phone and tablet. But I think Siri and here are fundamental. But just one quick thing on the Ferrari. Now that Ferrari designed the Apple car in Ferrari with Johnny Ives, I think just to be fair, Apple should get Ferrari's top designer to design a phone.
I agree.
Because it was basically the Apple car inside Ferrari. So Apple should now have a Ferrari designer make the Ferrari phone, which I think would be really cool to see.
All right. So in a related story, Google Labs launched something called Dream Beans. It's an app that can dig into all of your Google files and cross-index them and read your secret emails and everything else.
And of course, keep it all completely private and never share it with anybody.
Why would they share it with anybody, Rony?
No. Like
they're there to help you.
It is like absolutely secure. You know.
I got to tell you, I'm tempted. I'm really tempted.
Just be careful, because what it's going to do is it's going to synthesize all your emails and rise things to the top about all the different little spam moments and things that you like looked at once to shop for and said, "Oh, I'm interested in this. I'm going to subscribe to this." And it's going to like force it up going, "Hey, do you remember this thing from 6 years ago that you thought you wanted to buy and never did?"
Okay,
It's an ad. It's an ad play. It's an ad play.
It's for Google. You have to have Google Ultra, which includes YouTube Premium. So it's an extra $70 over YouTube Premium. I thought I would try it for a month or two.
Yeah, just
You
wait
guys
till you
think I'm
see
a
all the
sucker?
things you forgot to buy that you're gonna be motivated to buy again.
All right. So AI music startup Suno is raising $400 million at a $5.4 billion valuation.
This is crazy to me. This is crazy to me because like,
Why? I mean, they're just using stolen music. It's Napster. Why isn't it worth $5 billion?
I feel like because like art and artistry is not an end sum game where they're gonna like own the music industry because they're synthesizing it. Art is is craftsmanship and uniqueness and outliers and all of these different things. Doesn't mean that people won't use AI to make music. I just cannot see a giant platform having that kind of value. I just can't see it.
If it becomes Spotify, you will. And I
Well,
think
yeah,
that's their bet, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I think Suno has a lot of.
I don't agree with this. Let me give you their argument, Charlie and Ted. The argument is this, that when you load up all the music in the world, kind of like what we're seeing with like AI video from China, like Seed Dance and stuff like that, kids will be like, I want to hear this. And it'll just keep creating an ever fresh playlist tuned to you based on your likes. Instead of hoping Taylor Swift or someone writes the next song, this thing will just keep feeding your neurochemistry hits like TikTok does. It's basically TikTok is feeding you like AI videos. This is AI sound files giving you neurologic adrenaline hits like a drug. And that's what they're betting on. If you go, what's the investor thesis? You addict people to this feedback loop. It's a recursive feedback loop, but I like this. Feed me more, give me more. That's what TikTok is. It's TikTok.
I know. Well, that's where all of this is going.